Okay. Um, Sorry about that. So, Anna Marie Sarah Covington is my legal name. Um, so basically, um, Dave kidnaps me. Then he turns around and sells life insurance policies. I think he called himself Mr. Hollywood. I don't know if that means anything to anyone. Um, then he uses me every which way that he can, has me raped and tortured, does so himself, puts me through hell, abuses the hell out of me, sells all these policies, um, gets me into false relationships, causes me to lose my memory, and gets other people to help. So it calls me up and tells me what he's done, including the serial killings and taking people's kidneys. My house is supposedly full of bones. My kids were kidnapped by him as well as other people. He'll deny that he was behind it, except that it was done exactly to a T the way that he prepared me for. That's not all about psychic ability. That's about being set up. Okay, so he could steal them too. Um, these people aren't even my family, and he has some stupid thing about history repeating itself. So, um, I guess stuff must have been done to him at some point. I don't know. I don't get it. Um, but like Carol had 3 husbands, so he decided that I should have 3 husbands. Um, her second husband's name was even Ed. Okay, I mean this is some wonky stuff. Somebody else in that family had their kid taken away by the Masons and given to someone else in the family and killed, and then they stole Alyssa's baby from her. Okay. Now I'm not even related to them, and they're forcibly causing fake history to repeat its fake self. This is how wonky this is. This isn't normal stuff. Then he turns around and he uses his gangs and his mobs to either force the hand of um, politicians to shut everything down as well as businesses, or they do it voluntarily, whichever the case, I don't know. Okay. 2 separate things were said, so I don't know for sure. I wasn't there. Okay, I'm relaying the message. He had planned it out. He is definitely behind it. He is at the top. Okay, he is the top. And he taught me the law. He taught me the names in a sing-song fashion. He taught me the derivatives of the names and how to figure them all out and to find the links. He told me who sold them. Mostly, not all. Okay. And also told me that he had taken policies out on those who did, who either sold them or bought them. Okay. He said that Ed and he and Kathy and Robert and I think Lenny and maybe even Wes and Tony were all involved, and he called them cleaners. He said that my house had a dirt floor at one time, and there was like a doorbell, which there is, or was, and on the garage. So I don't know if they were torturing people in the garage or what, or if the car would just pull up and they would then open that door to alarm the people inside that they were there and to not go out there. I saw a strange looking lock that does look like Dave's handiwork that he probably sat down and drew out and created. It's definitely different. There is symbolism. He likes to use symbolism for things. Triangles are his and Ed's symbol. I don't know if that's everyone's symbol or not. I think that's for cereal. Okay. The pipes in my house were also set up that way, triangle formation. And what else? There was a toilet in the basement without any walls around it, just like you would see in jail. There was also a cell, and he explained how they turned the doorknobs backwards, and that way they can use the different rooms as a cell. Upstairs, the small bedroom that nobody wanted to sleep in, because it was freaky for them. It wasn't really that it was small, they just didn't like being in there, which I understand. Um, had two hooks up at the top that you could slide a rod through to keep the door closed. When I first got the house, there was a piece of linoleum in what should have been like the master bedroom. It was upstairs, the center bedroom, except that it ended up being Matta's bedroom. Um, that piece of linoleum was then taken out. They actually covered up a floor that was on a 45-degree angle, the wood. So that's not usual. You know, if you have nice wood like that on a 45, you don't usually put linoleum on top. Doris Grabowski's bedroom had the same exact kind of linoleum in it, which I did notice at the time. So the things that were set did hold clout. The bathroom sink originally was a gas station style sink, like you would find in a gas station hanging on a wall, white, with the two hot, one hot, one cold. It didn't last very long, but uh, it did remind me of the one that I remember from when I was kidnapped from my real parents. I don't know why, but that's the kind of sink that we had. Okay. Um, there were long white curtains and boxes up at the top. Um, they were also painted like, well, they were more like a beige color. The house obviously was old, and Dave said that it was actually made of bones. When I bought the house, the mortgage guy said that it had good bones, meaning it was strong, structurally sound. That's how I took that. I didn't think that it was really made of bones, like drywall, plaster. Dave had given me his table saw, which I didn't think anything of. I actually do that kind of thing in wood. Um, so I know how to use a table saw. Um, he was supposed to be my dad. I was supposed to be the only kid, the oldest. To me, I didn't think much of it other than someday you're the one who gets all my tools. Okay. Um, I'm, I was a tomboy, so I kind of dig that kind of thing. Okay. Um, but at the same time, uh, when I had to do the cleansing, that was a very upsetting. Okay. Um, so at this point, I'm not sure, obviously. I don't understand how this all works, um, or I didn't. I sort of do now when I thought back on it. I do remember conversations had in regards to like him saying he was going to go kill someone. I never believed him. Okay, thought that he was just saying, I got to go run a jackhammer. He does construction. I didn't really think that he was going. You have to have the memory that he actually did something in the past. Most of the time, he watched TV and slept a lot. He slept a lot, a lot, a lot. Always sleeping. Basically, thought he got up in the morning, went to work putting up doors, came home, watched Springer, ate his food, laid down and took a nap, fell asleep. And sometimes he wouldn't even wake up, until the next day. So that's what I thought was going on. As a matter of fact, not that long ago, I was being driven up the wall, and I was actually screaming, "Why can't you go watch Sci-Fi or History Channel?" So, I definitely still have that thing called shock, and I probably will forever. And that's okay. It's better to know than to not know. You can't heal if you don't know, right? Uh, you can't move forward. I mean, you can, but not exactly the right way. So I'll be okay, I think. Um, I was told there was torture that went on in that house. I was tortured in that house. So were the girls, obviously. Just the poisoning in and of itself and living with Ed abusing us, that's torture. Um, being poisoned is torture by itself. And the abuse that goes along with it, the constant sabotage, um, just all of it combined, is that in and of itself is torture to a person. Um, what I'm actually talking about goes way above and beyond just that. And I don't say just that to mean it lightly. Um, it goes far, 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 far way beyond that. It's bad. Okay, I mean stuff that most people would never think of or do ever in a gazillion years. They just wouldn't. So most people probably wouldn't poison either. I don't think they would. Right. So I guess they decided, in a way, sort of what was explained to me, that there was a lack of empathy and a lack of understanding, for one thing. There was a lack of caring about and a lack of addressing for another. Um, and there was a lack of remorse, definitely. There was a lack of sympathy, which goes along with empathy. Um, and there um, was just too much hunting going on, in general, all across the board. Uh, it was said that it did not seem like it was necessarily one nationality or another, but it was definitely a communist issue. And the life insurance was why. So the directives, I should say, were for me to tell and to ask for the fuel to be removed from the fire, which would include poison and insurance, as well as inhalants being put under lock and key. Apparently, there were a lot of construction type people involved in some of this, and I understand why and how that is and how that all works. Um, this is really bad stuff. Okay. I don't know who the people were that were killed. I don't know, um, or why. Some I was told about, and some I honestly think were just vicious killings, just because he felt like it. That's pretty much what I got. The family has, their family, I should say, it's not mine, has some kind of weirdness about them. And so do other people. They want to hurt Dave, so they hurt me. So I'm stuck in the middle of everyone. Um, can I remind everyone that I'm his primary victim and I had to live with him? Okay, you didn't. So can you imagine for a second what that's like, or was like? You think it was fun? As a matter of fact, if anybody should be angry, it should be me because you left me there. You all left me there. You didn't even care. You just left me there. A lot of you sat and watched. You sat there and watched me die right in front of your eyes. You didn't care. Close to. And you still are. So, then he turns around and he, obviously there's hunting going on because I've detected poison in the water. Um, obviously there's too much bleach because everyone's hair is getting ruined. Doesn't matter what nationality you are. Okay. There's definitely some kind of problem going on with shampoo and conditioner, and I wouldn't put it past any of these places, okay? I understand you trust them. You don't want to think that way. But you have to remember that there's a lot of nastiness going on in the world, right? And some of those nastinesses work for some of these companies and are behind some of these companies. So if you want to destroy a country's self-esteem and self-worth, how do you go about doing that? If you want people to not stand up, how do you do that? You take their self-esteem from them. And how do you take their self-esteem from them? You attack their appearance. That's part of how you conquer. That's how you dominate. Okay? You want to take their self-esteem. You want to take their appearance. You want to make them dumb or make them feel dumb. So you'll talk down to them, talk to them like they're children. You'll treat them like they're children. You'll purposefully undereducate them. You can even go so far as making being smart an oddity. That also gets people pitted against each other. When we all are. We all really actually are. You just have to want to learn and keep learning every day. But that is what is going on, and it's not that hard to see. Okay? And it's a communist thing, because these types of things, it wasn't this way before. If you think back to the 50s, it wasn't this way in the 50s. I mean, I'm sure there was some rapes, but not like this. I really don't think people were going around torturing each other in their houses. Okay? I don't think they were going around poisoning the crap out of each other all the time. Alright? How many flus were there? Or viruses, breakouts, outbreaks, whatever you want to call them. Okay? This wasn't going on back then. People went, they got married, they got jobs, they settled down, and they lived. They raised their families. Sometimes there were problems here and there, but for the most part, that's what they did. Alright? There wasn't all this sex trafficking going on. There wasn't all this nasty smut. Alright? None of it. And I'm not wrong. And it wasn't a bad way for people to live. They pretty much got along. They were nice to each other. They were neighborly. They took care of each other. They were kind. They were honest and hardworking. And they loved. Okay? And then the 60s came about, and things got a little bit rougher. We had go-group girls and strip clubs that started up. Men started to lose respect for women. And women started to lose respect for themselves. And then there was other stuff that started going on, like drugs and partying. A lot more of it than had been done in the past. Then the 70s came, and it got even worse. And life got harder. And of course, there was a lot more smut by then, a lot more problems, a lot more arguments, okay, a lot more cheating, a lot less love, right? At least the right kind, the appropriate kind. Then the 80s came, and it got even worse, okay? And it has gotten progressively worse over time. And the common denominator in all of that happens to be insurance, for one thing, and an erosion of American values, the way American households are run, an erosion of morals, basic morals and values, in addition to just simply not the Bible necessarily, but following a simple, basic 10 laws. So something definitely has happened. The world has definitely changed. Along with those changes came that magic box that's in your living room, the TV set that's on in some of our houses 24 hours a day. So what we see and what we watch, for some, not for all, but partly becomes what we do. So you have Hollywood involvement in that as well. Alright? So if you are from another world, or even another country, either or, like I said, we're going to stick to communist for right now. How do you take and keep control of the people that you're trying to dominate? You take and keep control of the media, and you take and keep control of the government. Once you have those two things under your thumb, you pretty much have control of the entire situation. Now, in addition to that, you have hunting ground, because people can't breathe. They can't breathe. So a lot of people, they just give up and they give into it. They let go of their morals and they let go of their values. Some of them get so angry that they just can't help themselves. Sometimes people make a bad decision, and instead of facing that decision and auto-correcting themselves, they just keep right on. So the way I understand it, Dave had first killed when he was young, well before he stole me. He was already a serial killer by the time he stole me. And that he did when he was a teen. So he was a teenager and he was already a serial killer. And I don't know exactly what possessed him to steal me, but he did. Okay, and that would be an answer you'd have to ask of him. Of course, he probably won't admit it. Or he might. And then there were constant changes at the house. There might have been different dads, and that's the truth. Okay. I have memory of a lot of different people being there. One Dave wasn't ever supposed to have been in the army or have any kind of military experience. The other one supposedly left me to go be in. So, you get what I'm saying? This is conflicting stories from the same person. One never graduated high school and dropped out at 16 and became a door installer. Had some other odd jobs. That's the one that likes to hunt, I guess. I thought they were the same. So I'm a little confused myself, okay, because I thought there was one that was also drummed in my head that there's only supposed to be one Dave Fetcher. But there's not one. There's a bunch. Okay. Now I've had experiences that I cannot explain. And some that are weird, like how would you like to be sitting in your basement and Darth Vader shows up? Or all of a sudden your dad, or the guy who's supposed to be your dad, is Captain Kirk. Not William Shatner, but he was acting, calling himself Captain Kirk. So, can you imagine dealing with this? There have been times, and I'm not being mean, but I remember sitting on the edge of bed crying, going, he's going completely insane, what am I going to do? And that's actually happened to me a couple times. Alright? You gotta remember, I thought he was my dad. So this is the only parent I have, and now he's Captain Kirk. I'm not laughing, but can you imagine what this was like, alright? While you're all sitting there laughing and teasing and making fun. Then on top of that, you have him telling me stories about killing people. So he's Captain Kirk one day, and then he's killing people, okay? And he's supposed to be installing doors and watching Jerry Springer and Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, alright, Quantum Leap, alright? And lots of shows about the past, like ancient Egyptian stuff. But on the other hand, he's also talking about wildlife and health and eating right, but not feeding me right. Okay? And then mixed into all that are curse words and swearing and nastiness and seeming, and I do say seeming, to act angry about things like sex trafficking and rape and abuse. And anything I could do, you could do better, meaning I could do any job I ever wanted. I'm just as good as a man. So do you understand my confusion here? Okay? Do you understand where I'm coming from? I'm not trying to be a jerk, but can you understand why I was so confused and so lost. Okay, you have lack of memories, and then you have someone acting 25 different ways, right? You don't know what you're coming home from to one day to the next. Okay, you don't know what you're going to be met with. You just don't, right? And the name of the game is staying alive, right? The man's put me through walls. He's put me in a world of hurt. So the name of the game is staying alive, and that's the truth. So at a certain point, you turn a certain age, like 18, and you're out of there. Okay, you're out of there as fast as you can go. No, all caution to the wind, and you have no clue how you're going to take care of yourself, and you don't really care. But of course, you also don't know that the man, or I should say boy, that you marry is actually a sex trafficker and a rapist himself, and that you're jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. Okay. You have a baby on the way, and you want to take care of that baby, and you want to be there for that kid, because nobody was ever there for you. Okay? Nobody was ever really there for you. All the people around you were nothing but hateful and spiteful and abusive, and in your own mind up top, you decide that you're going to do everything you can to be the complete opposite. Okay? You are going to try your hardest to hold your tongue. You're definitely not going to. Okay? You're going to spend all your time with that kid. You're going to cuddle, and you're going to love, and you're going to take care of, even if you have to do it all by yourself for the most part. And if that means that you have to put up with somebody's mouth, then you put up with their mouth. Okay? Because part of you actually cares, because you don't know that you were sold. You have no clue. You have no clue that you were sold, and you have no clue that you were sold out. Right? You're walking around thinking that you're loved, when you were never loved at all. Not by the person who sold you behind your back, or sold you out in the first place, nor the person that he sold you to. But you do have one thing, and that's the child. And you love that child more than anything. Absolutely anything. And then someday, for a reason, maybe because the first one asks you for it, you have another. Maybe it's because you were an only child and you wanted to make sure that she had a sister to grow up with, someone to play with, so she wouldn't feel so alone and isolated. So she wouldn't have to grow up by herself. So she had someone to talk to, and somebody to relate to, and somebody to learn, and to laugh, and to love with. So that's what you also do. Because, again, you have no memory of what they're doing to you. You just don't know. Okay? But then you find that you're being abused. And you don't know that you're being poisoned. You just know you don't feel good. You never feel good. Every day you wake up, you don't feel good. No matter what, you just don't feel good. And no one around you can ever seem to get it through their head that you don't feel good. And you tell them over and over, and you're not full of shit, and you're being honest. But they are the biggest assholes that there ever was about it. Not only are they the biggest assholes about it, but they're actually the ones doing it to you. Okay? So they make you feel like shit, and they cheat on you, and they beat you, and they abuse you, and they take away every ounce of your self-esteem. Okay? They eat away at it until there's nothing left. The only thing you have left is love for your kids and a little bit for yourself. You don't think you're worth much. To them you are, but not to anyone else. Right? So then you decide, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I've had enough. This is no way to live. I didn't sign up for this. This isn't what I want. This definitely is not the life I want for my girls. Your daughter looks up at you and says, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. You think about the abuse that she's seeing and what she's being put through just by seeing the abuse itself. Again, you don't have any clue of the other stuff that they're doing to her behind your back. Okay? Or to you behind your back. You only know about the regular abuse that's going on every day and how they do this. But that's all you know about. And just knowing that in and of itself is bad enough. Okay? No kid should have to watch anything that was going on. No little kid should see somebody who's supposed to be their dad holding a knife to their mom's throat and saying it'd be 99% worth it to watch them bleed. No kid should see their daddy prancing around in nylons or be asking their mom why daddy has a big sock, which was a cast that he found in the garbage that he decided to put a nylon on and masturbate to. Okay? Now, I have seen things, and I did not ever think I could say it, but I've been through a lot, okay? And eventually, you get to the point where you just can't take it anymore. And you realize you shouldn't have to, and that you don't deserve it. So, you get up one day, and you take your happy butt up to the courthouse, and you go to the law library, and you're scared shitless because this person, which is really a thing, okay, has driven you to the point where you just can't take it anymore. And you ask the librarian for a copy of divorce papers of some kind. Do you have some kind of divorce papers around here that I could use as a template, please? I need to get my way out of this. I got myself into quite a mess, and now I have to get out. And she happily hands you divorce papers, and you walk over to the copy machine and you copy them, and you take them home, and you sit down at the computer, and you can barely think straight. Okay? You're scared, and you are so unbelievably mad that you can hardly contain yourself. You can barely concentrate. That's how mad you are every second of the day. Okay? So, you sit down and you type them up. And you don't hide that you're typing them up. You type them up right in front of him. The entire time, asking him if he was going to stop and change his behavior. He thinks you're bluffing. He thinks you'll never leave. Who would want you? Look at you. You have 2 kids. Who would ever want to be with you? So you type them up, and then you print them out, and then you take the money that's technically both yours, but it's actually his, and you walk your happy ass back up to that courthouse all by yourself, and you file those papers, and then you say goodbye, asshole. I've had enough. And he tries to fight you, so you snitch on him which is what you're supposed to do anyway. And not only does he try to fight you, but then he puts his hands on you. Oh, you did not. Thank you so much. Say goodbye, asshole. So after he puts his hands on you, you then put him in jail. And you take your happy ass back up to the courthouse. And you tell the judge. And then you get yourself what is called an order of protection. Then he continues to act like a child and cause all sorts of more problems for other people in the building. And he decides he's going to rob someone and run off to Mexico. He wants to go to Mexico all of a sudden. So you turn around and wait for him to go. And while he is gone, you snitch some more. And then he comes back. And he's screaming at you that he wants to see the kids. You are a drug addict. You wear pantyhose and nylons. You held a knife to my throat. You have been poisoning me. You hit me in front of them. You are not seeing these kids anymore. Do you know why? Because that is the safest and best thing for me to do for them. Do you know why? Because you're insane. That's why. And my job as the parent and the role model and the adult is to protect them from you. So, you want to run away to Mexico after you rob someone? Then you get what is called a 2-year order of protection, and now you stay away because you are now what is called a flight risk. So that's not happening. Okay? I'm not giving you my kids so you could run off with them. God knows where. Oh. So then, I'm gonna get my buddy from the mob after you. And what does he do? What, pray tell, exactly does he do? I'm supposed to be starting my life all over. I'm supposed to get a new start. I'm supposed to be free from abuse. I'm not supposed to be putting up with anyone's bullshit anymore because I've had enough. And I want that thing called independence. In fact, the day of my divorce, which was November 17th, that's exactly what I called it. Anna's Independence Day. I actually celebrated it for a very long time. Every year that went by. Today is Anna Independence Day. Do you happen to know that I actually checked the internet just to find out if that thing is dead because it is driving me nuts? And I've been waiting this whole time for it to OD just so I can be left alone and have a life without it bothering me. He set me up with his friend. And then Dave acts like he had nothing to do with it, which is also bullshit. These things are holding me captive. I am hostage. And then they work together as a team. A team, mind you, to steal my kids. And they want to call it what goes around comes around. Now, wait 1 second here. I was not the one looking at nudie magazines. I was not the one spending the rent and the phone bill on them. I was not the one pulling nasty casts that other people wore out of the garbage and using them as masturbation tools. I was not the one jizzing in nylons. I was not the one wearing my wife's panties or spandex. I was not the one who did all of this, okay? I was not the one who decided to quit my job and sell drugs. I was not the one poisoning anyone, okay? I was not the one doing any of the cheating. I never scarred him up, okay? This is ridiculous. You people think you're going to make what goes around comes around on me over a complete and total criminal piece of shit asshole. Okay? That's what you think you're doing? That's what you think you're doing. That's what you thought you were doing. And then you got caught at it. And you didn't like being caught. You didn't like being caught. You don't like being caught. But you're caught at it. You're caught at it. Because for whatever reason it is, all of a sudden, it's perfectly okay to be a criminal. It's perfectly okay to deal drugs because he doesn't want to pay taxes on the money. It's tax-free. That was his reason. This is what I was dealing with. This is my point. Okay? You know what it is? I refuse to allow these people to be my owner. I refuse to sit there and allow them to victimize me. When I stand up, you want to beat me down on their behalf. I refuse to lay down and die for you. So now, I'm not in charge of this. But since you don't want to listen and you want to walk around acting like you have no common sense and no conscience at all, I got a question for you. Do you like what's being done? Do you like wearing that mask? Does it feel good to be sick? Are you enjoying this? Is there a reason you won't allow me to turn these assholes in? Because they did this to me, and now it's being done to you. So instead of standing up for them, why don't you stand up for me? Why don't you stand up for you? Because all of this is wrong, and I happen to know my right from my wrong. Do you? You all want to go out there and cause chaos and destroy buildings and then get it blamed on me and keep me from my kids even longer because that's how sick in the head you are. You want to support these people for the nasty shit that they have done. You're just as evil and nasty as they are. You want to get me blamed for tearing the country up when it ain't me, it's you. That's how sick in the head you are. Because I refuse to lay down and die for you. And you know what? I won't. Nor will they. Nor should anyone else. Because there's a sickness inside you. Anyone who would stand up and support these garbage ass pieces of shit after all they have said and all they have done and all the lives they have destroyed, including your own, you're completely nuts. You've lost your marbles. This isn't just about morals and values. You don't even value yourself. You don't value your own life. You don't value your kids' lives. You don't value your family's lives. You don't value anything. What goes around comes around. Well, guess what? I already won. Assholes. I already won a second time. And this time, it wasn't just a small win. It was a big win. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you can't take that win from me. I won all by myself. Fair and square. I am so not sorry I beat you at your own game. But I'm not your game. they're not your game, and you are extremely sick. Extremely sick. Going around half-cocked, which makes no sense to me. But your mind is so overrun with greed and with lust and with envy and all your stupid agendas that you're too blind to see what you're actually doing or to even listen to what has actually gone on and been done. Which, you're just like them. You're no different. Not at all. And that is a scary, creepy thing. That there are that many Tonys and that many Eds and that many Daves and that many Kathys and that many Roberts and that many Carols and that many Feldmans all walking around. Do you think this shit is funny? You think it's funny? You think you're funny? I don't think you're funny. I did my job. You don't like it? Too fucking bad. It's just the way it is. I'm not sacrificing my life for Tony Victors or David Betcher or Edward Malik or Wesley Victors or anyone else. I have 4 girls to raise. Okay? Whether you like it or not. And a husband and an entire life in front of me. Hopefully he's still alive. If not, well, I was raised to do both jobs if I absolutely have to. Hopefully he is. But I can handle it if he's not. And I'll have to, won't I? I won't get a choice. Just like every other aspect of my life, other than having my kids. Nothing has ever been my choice. Everything has been a manipulation. Every decision ever made. Nothing but a lie. A series of manipulations and games. It gets to a point where you've just had enough. And he wants it so that I've had enough, that I find a way to take my own life so he don't have to go to jail. It's not going to happen. Because if it's me or you, I will always choose me. And it's just the way it is. Sorry. I have work to do. Not drug sales, or smoking crack, or selling weed to little kids, or making acid out of poison, or poisoning someone, or setting out to ruin and rob someone of their life every which way I could think of. Okay? That's not me. That's not me. But that's you. What a waste. What a waste. Just so you know, Anthony Victors, had he not decided to be, Dave said he was a killer. He could have been anything he wanted to at one point. That's what they said. He could have played soccer with Billy Savarino, but he threw it away because he wanted to get high. Just so you know. And, Ed was supposed to have gone to Brown. He could do really good mental math before he decided to rot his own brain with inhalants. Okay. So, yeah, real winners. Oh well, you can't turn back time, so it is what it is. I'm incredibly mad that somebody didn't knock on my door and ask me what the fuck I was doing. And if they did, I'm incredibly mad that whoever it was didn't then interrupt them, because that's probably what they did. Because that's what they did. Somebody will call me on the phone and tell me something, and then they attack. And then you don't remember. So whatever it is that they're doing, I hope surveillance knows, because the people need to know what's going on. This is wrong. This is how people's lives get stolen. And I think it was Gates that did this chipping stuff. Say goodbye to pretty much everything. Because I'll stand up, and then all those other people will stand up. So, kiss it goodbye. Because this shit's wrong. It's unbelievably nasty. And completely unsafe. You robbed me of my entire existence so far. And then you stole my kids. Called it what goes around comes around. And you support cross-dressing, amputee fetish loving street thugs. How would you like to be married to that? Okay. How would you like to walk into the bedroom and see that? Or have to. Seriously, I mean, you really like them? Okay. Now you know why I'm screaming at the top of my lungs on the phone and why I'm asking you what's wrong in your heads. Because for whatever reason it is, you refuse to listen. I swear to God, I'm not playing around. Throw your life away for them. Makes a lot of sense.